Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about riba. We are talking about some of the concepts within a riba that might be confusing some people. So after I published the last video about riba, I noticed some of the comments in the section were kind of disputing the whole idea that what we are seeing in the finance world today is actually not riba, that these are modern days. Banking as we know it today and finance world did not exist back then. We have inflation. Some of the comments pointed that riba is only usury or excessive riba, something that is form of exploitation, something that is oppressing people. And I wanted to respond to this. So let me quote to you a couple of narration that might clarify some of these points. So first hadith that is worth paying attention to is hadith of Bilal radiallahu anhu. In this narration, we see Bilal coming to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and bringing some dates, beautiful high quality Barni dates. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam asks Bilal, what are these dates? So Bilal said, I have taken some of the dates which were lower quality, and then I have replaced them for a lesser quantity of higher quality dates. So what Bilal was explaining is that he took, for instance, 6 kilos of low quality dates and he replaced them for about 3 kilos of high quality dates. Why was he doing this? He wanted to give the gift to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam on that said to Bilal, beware Bilal, this is riba. And then he gave him the instruction what he should have done. He said, you should have taken low quality dates and then sold them for money, and then take that money and buy the dates that you wish to buy, which is those high quality dates. Now, in this narration, we see very profound lesson. Number one, which is what is the big misconception about riba, is that it's only when it comes to exploitation, oppression. In this narration, we see that Bilal was not oppressed, exploited. In fact, he wanted to do something which is nice, give someone a gift, present. Still, because he was changing one amount of dates for another amount, these amounts were not the same. The Prophet ﷺ said, this is riba. And this goes back to the rule when it comes to exchanging things, riba with goods, gold for gold, or dates for dates. These kinds of things, when they are exchanged, they need to be equal, so one for one. And so we see that riba is actually the excess or surplus or unequal exchange from particular transactions. So this is number one thing to notice. It doesn't mean it's about modern day or olden day banking and finance. Doesn't mean it's a lot of it or little of it. It simply means that we are violating the principle of Islamic finance, which is that when you exchange these things, they need to be exchanged one to one. In this case, it doesn't even matter if those dates are maybe different type versus different type. We look at the dates as the same family. Now, the second point that we learn here, which is confusing a lot of people, is that if outcome of riba transaction and Islamic transaction, which is trade-based, are the same. Often people say, well, this is the same. They're just saying profit is same like rent, or rent is same like riba, and riba in trade, all of these terms, Islamic banking, conventional banking, all is the same to us. Well, we see here something which is very important lesson, and that is that financial outcome at the end is not what renders transaction permissible or not. So we see here Bilal started with, let's say, 2 sa of dates, and he sold it for 1 sa of dates. So the outcome here is not the main issue. Issue is that changing this quantity of dates for this quantity of dates is not permissible. Instead, the Prophet ﷺ suggests solution. That solution might actually lead to the same outcomes. But what is the solution that we are looking for? Is that take a dates, change them for money. Money then serves as a medium of exchange. In that case, you can buy and sell as you wish, money for dates. And then take that money and buy the dates you wish. So we see here that this dates for dates transaction is cut with money. Even though we might arrive at the same exact financial outcomes, the nature of these transactions is the similar. So for example, if we are going to Islamic bank or finance institutions and we are buying the home, for instance, we are doing exactly the same thing. We are saying that conventional bank, when you are taking a loan, which is money for money transaction, with house being just collateral, not the subject matter of the contract, just the collateral, something from security if you cannot repay that loan. It's not the main thing in the contract. You are given money for that home, yes, but that's not a subject matter. So when you are buying home, money for money type of a conventional loan that gives rise to more is interest. So that profit, that outcome of transaction is not permissible. In Islamic finance, when you are buying that house or doing the financing for the home, it must be money for something. Just in the example of the Prophet ﷺ, when he said, sell those dates for money. In this case, what we are doing is we are taking money and buying the asset and then selling the asset for more money. And so both of these might look the same in terms of financial outcomes, but as the Prophet ﷺ showing us, one is the type of profit that is not legitimate, where the other one is legitimate. And that's why we see in the verse, Surah Baqarah, where people are disputing or they are rebelling against these orders about riba by saying that trade and riba look the same to us. Why? Because of this same reason. We see the people were looking at a result of riba transaction in financial terms, and they were looking at the trade-based financing or arrangements, and they're saying both of these are returning the same profit. Why is one allowed? Why is another one not allowed? Well, Allah answers that Allah has permitted trade, profiting from these kinds of transactions and not profiting from these kinds of transactions. So, in a nutshell, it's not about exploitation. It's not about being oppressed or not being oppressed. It's not about even how much or what is the financial outcomes. When you are exchanging money for money or things that are similar, ribawi items, you cannot profit from that. As we have seen, the Prophet ﷺ said this to Bilal. But what you can profit, as Prophet ﷺ described to us in the end of that hadith, is any transaction where money is exchanged for non-monetary item. In those cases, this is trade, this is profit, this is what is allowed. Now, for those people who are saying that today we don't have riba because it is modern day, banks are doing things differently, we have to understand it comes down to basics. The core banking product is selling money for money. That's the world of finance, really. The growth of debt, credit, this is all driven by riba. So to say that there is no riba today, it's only large amounts of riba, this is what Christians use as excuse to separate riba to something that is not legitimate, which is, they call it usury, and this is not legitimate profit. And then they said interest or a little bit of riba is okay. As a Muslims, we don't believe in these ideas. Any excess beyond 1-to-1 is riba. It doesn't have to be exploitative. It doesn't mean it's only the one who is giving it, as there is another narration of the Prophet ﷺ which clearly show that for who engage in riba, whether it's the one who is giving it or the one who is taking it, whether it's the one who is recording it or the one witnessing, they are all equal. They are all involved and they have sin of riba. So where does this leave us? It leaves us with a very important point. We don't want to be like the people who were mentioned in Quran as those people who say that trade is like riba. This all looks same to us. Whether you buy the house through Islamic finance institution or conventional, it's all the same, just the playing with the names, the words. So we don't want to be like those people who say such a thing, because the verse says that these people will be on the day of judgment like someone who is being beaten by shaitan into insanity. So we want to be people of justice, be able to recognize, yes, there could be a lot of legitimate criticism of Islamic finance industry, but it's not right to say entire Islamic banking, entire Islamic finance, it's all wrong. We always are people of justice, and we look at specific. If one organization is doing something right, if they have a product that is done in the right way, and there is another organization, or even in the same organization, they have a product that is not done to satisfy all Sharia conditions, then we judge everything individually. We don't look at the entire concept and entire industry and just say none of this is right. And just like Prophet ﷺ pointed to what is riba, he also gave alternative. And today we need alternative for Muslims to be successful, to run their businesses and achieve what we need to achieve to have a wholesome Islamic lifestyle. Thank you for spending time to watch this video. If you would like to learn more about finance and economy from Islamic perspective, head to our new platform, Muslim Money Matters, where we go in much greater details regarding the content. Until next time, my name is Almi Cholan. Assalamu alaikum.